Welcome to the 2022 Azerbaijan Grand Prix, except we're doing this in the F1 2021 game. We're going to be using our My Team car, and that means we get to choose our teammate. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose Michael Schumacher. We're gonna be doing this on a controller at 102 AI. I just hope they're not too fast, because that would be pure suffering if I had to do that for like a whole 90-minute race. And then we're also going to choose the most random weather, and it'll be interesting to see if the game brings in rain or not, or if it's going to be a dry race. It's going to be full qualifying, a full 100% race, but exactly 0 practice, so this one's going to be interesting. And for assists, just full racing line and flashbacks. So by the looks of it, we're just going to be getting partly cloudy and clear weather, which it's not going to make for an exciting race, but okay. And we're going to be using a time trial setup, so we're going to go ahead and turn down some settings just so it's a bit more stable, because if you've ever tried to race with a time trial setup, you know it's like pure suffering because the car wants to spin the whole time. So this is my first run. As you can see, I already had a crash there through this section, and it's going to be one of the many that are going to happen on this particular section. Like, there's a reason why I kept flashbacks on, and it's because of this time trial setup. Like, the amount of times I had to restart this qualifying session. Like, this was my second run. I turned the car in again, and I just absolutely destroyed the rear wing, which is not what you want to do if you want to be fast. So I turned down the tire pressures to give me a bit more grip, and then also increased the rear wing for some more stability at the cost of straight line speed, which is going to be important when it comes to this very long straight, because I'm pretty sure Baku has one of the longest straights in the F1 calendar. But now I finally get to my first run. I think this is, you can see by the fact that there's still about 13 minutes to go. And there's also this like section here where like you have two cars going in the opposite direction, and it makes for some cool photos. So now we head to the castle section for the first time. Not exactly the perfect approach, but for like the first time in like literal months, that is very nice. So we go ahead and head through the middle sector, lose the back end again, and that's our qualifying lap gone. So I pretty much had to go back to the pits or just like restart. So I let Lance Stroll go past, and then I try again, heading into the braking zone. A little bit slow on the apex, but we have kept it clean, which is exactly what we want. We turn the car in, apply the power, and there goes the car around. Now, this is where things get a bit funny, because I was thinking about turning the car around, but you can see how narrow the track is. So if I try to do a burnout, I'll just slam into the wall. As you can see right there, I did a really bad attempt, and then I had to kind of just wait for everyone else to get past one of the cars, and then another one, and then another one, and I tried to get past before I get a penalty for being stopped on track. You can see a bit of smoke there, as I almost caused one of the Haas cars to make a mistake. But thankfully we finally get around, and we're ready to go for our second attempt at the Baku Castle section. Unfortunately though, this lap won't count, even though we had a much better approach this time. So we eventually have to pit, and now we wait for the later run. I decided to go out with about 7 minutes to go, because I still have not set a full good lap, as I just bumped the car in and just destroyed the front wing. And now I have to go back to the pits again, and you can see the timer is red, which means we are running out of time. So finally, for the final run, interestingly enough, a car goes out of qualifying. That's Carlos Sainz retiring from qualifying, which I just found really interesting. Doesn't happen a lot. And even Lewis Hamilton, terminal damage, which obviously means they crashed out somewhere. So I was just thinking about it, and I was like, okay, there's a notification. I have to go check this out, because clearly something happened. So I head over, there's a yellow flag right at the castle section, and there you go. That looks like one of the Ferraris that has crashed out. That is probably Carlos Sainz, as the game said. So I'm guessing kind of like probably misjudged his braking zone and like hit that outside wall, just like Charles Leclerc did back in Azerbaijan 2019. In fact, you can see a bit of a glitch there, as one of the tire tethers is like glitching through the map. Even Michael Schumacher there was heading right to the scene of the accident. So it'll be interesting to see if they have cleared it out right now, or if we'll end up at the castle section and they're still there. Thankfully, everything's been cleaned out, and you can finally set an okay lap which I really hope gets us out of Q1. But considering this is equal cars, that is a very tough challenge. So there's Michael Schumacher getting second place in qualifying. Meanwhile, I'm all the way down. Where am I? Oh, last place.
It's that time again. Time for some exciting Formula One action.
So the game suggested for me a soft, medium strategy, but I decided since I'm in last place, I may as well try something different. So I went medium, soft, medium, which is just an interesting way to try out, and hopefully it makes for some good racing. As we get a good start there, almost losing the back end and crashing into either the wall or into Mazepin. We go ahead and send it down the inside. I really hope Codemasters improves the AI, because they suck every time it comes to the turn one. So we sent it in again into George Russell, thinking about the move on Ricciardo, but that would have been some massive damage to the front wing for sure. So we go ahead and check the damage just to make sure that everything's fine. But now we get that move on Ricciardo. Thankfully he sees us there and we get past him, and hopefully we don't have to see him ever again for the rest of the race. Now on to the next couple of cars. You can see Mick Schumacher and Lance Stroll fighting ahead and holding up a train of cars. You can see the gap starting to form there ahead of Lance Stroll. So now we're going to think about making that move on the inside, just like that, on the inside, and now we're already up to P14, an entire 8 positions gained, which is just great. Now we head through the castle section for the first out of 51 times. Let's hope we don't crash out of the race at any point right there, just like Carlos Sainz did. So go ahead and change some diff settings at the bottom right, turning it down to about 75. I don't really remember what I was thinking when I was doing that, but as far as I'm aware, diff settings just affect how much the car gets oversteer. So I'm guessing I wanted a bit more stability, especially as we come through this section, which, as you've already seen, has caused a lot of trouble for us during qualifying. Now we have Esteban Ocon chasing us from behind. Is he going to be making a move on the straight? Decides to take what's going to be the inside line of turn 1, as Verstappen is still leading the race. We are now in a dead heat with Esteban Ocon, but we actually decide to pull ahead, and we are stay ahead at the braking zone. So let's go ahead and skip later on onto the lap, to the end of lap, what is this, lap 2. Now Ocon comes ahead and gets a much better overspeed, and he's going to try it around the outside now. This time he's very far ahead. Is he going to stay ahead? We go side by side into turn 1 and we stay ahead. We manage to stay ahead for just a little bit longer, but this battling is really costing us a lot of time. You can see Antonio Giovinazzi there already pulling a gap from us, but you can see the train in front of him has actually kept or allowed us to catch up to him again, and now we get the DRS on him. Will we be making a move on him on this main straight, or is that out of the question? We're using a bit of our overtake to get closer, but you can see we're just not gaining enough to be able to make that overtake. But now we're getting closer, thinking about the move. Are we going to do it? Oh yes, we are, down the inside and right ahead. Perfect overtake. Now on to the next straight, with these two fighting side by side through this next corner. It's going to give us some time to catch up, and now we do. Chasing behind Schumacher, he moves over to defend from Lance Stroll, and we actually get ahead because of that. Now side by side into the next corner, around the outside, we send it, and perfect move. Now up into P12, and just getting closer and closer to the points. Now skipping ahead onto the later laps, here we are. Mick Schumacher still chasing behind us. We have no cars ahead of us to give us any DRSs. Oh, we lose the back end. They're almost crashing out of the race on the 4th lap. Thankfully, keep it on the inside. I'm guessing that Mick Schumacher must be giving us some of his bad luck of crashing in so many races there. But now he gets ahead, but we are going to get the DRS again, and we might just be able to attempt an overtake. Losing a bit of speed there as we go through those high-speed S's. Lance Stroll now is also catching up to us with a massive overspeed. He's going to try it around the outside. DRS on, we both have DRS, so we shouldn't be making too big of a difference, but now we're catching up to Mick Schumacher, both at the same time. We both get ahead, And just like that, I'm ahead of everyone else. Lance Stroll still fighting with Mick Schumacher there. Now they're going side by side, heading into turn 2. Who's going to get ahead? Lance Stroll looks a bit ahead, but now Mick Schumacher actually pulls ahead just a bit more. Now it all depends on who's going to get the DRS between one of the two. But they're so far away, you can't really see what's going on. But yeah, by the looks of it, Mick Schumacher stays ahead. So now we set our first purple sector, which is great. So I decide, okay, time to try for our fastest lap. We get a green sector, which is good, but not what you want for a fastest lap. And third sector, green. So eventually we have our personal best, but not the fastest lap we want. But later on we catch up to everyone else.
Is behind you. Our gap behind is 5.7 seconds. They're on old softs. The gap to the leader is 11.2 seconds. Pit window will open in 10 laps time. Pit window opens in 10 laps. 42 laps to go.
You can see how with these equal cars, slipstream or rather DRS trains become a really big part of the race. As you can see us catching up to another DRS train which seems to be led by a McLaren. So we're going to finally get the DRS and they're going to go ahead and pull us ahead and give us a bit more speed. Looks like the pit stops are starting on the end of the 10th lap. Some guys go in, but we decide to stay out because, of course, one medium tires, which will be lasting us a couple of laps longer than the softs that most of the grid started on. But now we're going to get DRS one more time against Kimi Räikkönen, but no moves done. In fact, we skipped to the next lap. But now maybe we're going to make a move. We're within half a second of Kimi Räikkönen, but we'll use no overtake, which is pretty interesting. Looking down the inside, but deciding better of it. Deciding, nah, that's a very optimistic overtake if I was going to try it. So later on, some more cars pit, and Räikkönen seems to have pulled away just a little bit. We're now almost hanging on the edge of that DRS detection. Now 2/10 within that range, but thankfully we stay within it, and we almost lose the car and crash into the wall there. That was a really close one. Here it is in slow motion. I thought the car had less grip on the front wheel, so I counter-steered, but it looks like I was gonna crash into the wall there if I was just a bit slow with reacting. Now if you take note of the tire wear at the bottom right, you can see just how bad time trial setups are in terms of tire wear. Like, that's a whole 10% difference between the front and the rear tires. And I'm guessing that's probably compounded by the fact that as a speed focused track like Baku is, the rear tires can be put under a lot of load. But now we have Max Verstappen now chasing us. He has already pitted and is now onto his first set of medium tires. So we're not actually racing him. He just has to get past us. But with Michael Schumacher in third place, we might just be able to help him out as a teammate. As now Max gets the DRS, he starts to catch up with us. Are we going to defend? We stay on the inside, and Max Verstappen tries around the outside, getting ahead at the braking zone and trying it around the outside. We manage to stay ahead, and Max Verstappen has to wait for a bit later before he can make his next move. So here we are, you can see the car losing the back end there almost as we exit that corner. Again, now Max Verstappen is getting closer and closer, and with the DRS he's going to have a super easy overtake for him once he gets past. You can see him already gaining there. We haven't even hit the detection point as he almost goes into the back of us there, just barely avoiding an accident at such a high speed. But now he gets the DRS, pulls ahead, trying it around the outside. Let's see who's going to stay ahead at the end of the corner. Let's still stay ahead by braking just a bit later, and Verstappen has to try to switch back, and now he's got the inside and he's ahead again. Now, but I'm gonna get the DRS this time, and that might just be enough to get ahead. So now we get the DRS to pull out our overtake button, and there we are getting ahead very far from the braking zone, ahead of Max Verstappen. Is he gonna try around the inside again or not? Nope, we stay ahead. But now all this fighting has allowed Michael Schumacher to catch up to us, and now we head through this middle sector, which is where Max Verstappen can't overtake, so he has no choice but to be sandwiched between these two blue cars as we head through the castle section. You can see him there almost getting really close to our rear wing there as he almost bumps into us through that castle section. We're actually holding him back. We're holding him back right now as we head through this section, but he's gonna get the DRS one more time. And let's see if he's going to be able to make a move this time. Now, with the top three within 1 second of each other, this is going to be a very interesting moment. You can see him there gaining a massive amount. I decide to go defensive, and now he has to try that. He has to try around the outside. We use the overtake button to try and stay ahead of Max Verstappen. But this is actually kind of costing us in our own race, because all this fighting is just slowing us down. Because the other guys are on the fresher tires, and really, if they get ahead like they are right now, well, they're just going to disappear in the distance. So here we are now, heading through turn 2, DRS again. This time the blue cars get the DRS, and now Max Verstappen is the one who has to defend. As he almost bumped into the back of Michael Schumacher there. He tries it around the outside now. Trying it around the outside, they go side by side, and still side by side, heading into the next braking zone. Now Michael Schumacher gets the inside, touches the curb, and they almost bump wheels there as they head through this section. Now heading into this next corner, still side by side, but now Max Verstappen is pulling a bit ahead, and there they bump again slightly, and I get to move up. As you can see, Michael Schumacher's wing there having a slight bit of damage. In fact, I think I was fighting him a bit too much there, and that might have allowed Verstappen to get away. But one thing for sure is that Gasly is now up behind us. He's now ready to overtake us. He's now also on the fresher medium tires, I guess. And we're actually now losing some distance to the guys up front. 2/10 behind, 8/10 behind Michael Schumacher. But are we still going to get the DRS? We're just barely hanging on. I decide to try the overtake, just try and stay inside of that DRS range, just a bit more. But we're just barely hanging on. So we pass the detection point, thankfully, and we get the DRS, just barely. But now Pierre Gasly also gets it. He tries it around the inside now. You can see the light flashing at the back of my car. That means that I'm out of battery, as you can see, down at 6%. We send it down the inside just a bit too much, and we run wide and run off the track, right past the white lines. So Gasly gets ahead very easily. But the battle might not be over yet, just yet, because I lose the back end there just a bit, but we get the DRS. Gasly is too far behind from Schumacher to get anything, so now we can go ahead and try something, but it just looks like we're a bit too far ahead. He's just a bit too far ahead. But soon we'll be pitting, so now we have Alonso on the next lap, Alonso and Bottas. Now 3 cars heading into turn 1. This is Alonso's point of view. They're just getting sandwiched between the 2 cars, but thankfully there are no collisions. But now, unfortunately, he has to stay behind both of us right now. But now, at the end of lap 19, Valtteri Bottas is going to try again to get ahead of us with the fresher tires, sending it down the inside before he even hit the DRS. He's pretty much ahead, but now even Alonso comes ahead. But now this time, and this lap, they finally get ahead before we arrive at the braking zone. Unfortunately, there's nothing I could do about that. But they still head side by side, which slows them down, and now I get to try to run the outside of Fernando Alonso. But now he tries to send it hard. Are we going to be able to once again try and move again? All this fighting has allowed Norris and Leclerc to come in and also join the battle. So now we try it around the outside. Even though we both have DRS, I just have a bit more speed, trying it around the outside, almost crashing into each other there, as Alonso bounces over the curbs. But we stay ahead through this middle section, which is very important. Now skipping later on onto the lap, we have no DRS. Alonso has DRS. He's going to go ahead and try it around the outside, but we're pitting anyway, so he just gets free DRS and no need to overtake for him. So now we stop, and here we go. Hopefully this is a good stop. Go ahead and stop. And why are they changing the front wing? The car was handling like totally fine. I don't know why they decided to change it, because I set the setting to auto, but for some reason they think I need to change my front wing, even though the car was totally fine for these last couple of laps. Okay, so we skip later on to the lap. Now we're just kind of driving around in clean air, setting our first purple sector after our outlap. And then skipping later on into the castle section for the 22nd time of the race. This one was a really clean attempt, I think. Look at that. No spins, no lockups, nothing. That was great. So now ending the middle sector with a green improvement over the lap. Not the purple we want, but still nice to see some improvement. And then crossing the line This is a new fastest lap.
That's a new fastest lap of the race.
So now later on this lap, we set another purple sector, another improvement. But I think this is mostly due to the fact that we're running the soft tires while everyone else is running the mediums. So this is just giving us an extra benefit, but I'm sure at the end of the race, I won't be the one with the fastest lap. But we set another fastest lap right there, a 42.7. You'll have to see it. And that means that we might be catching up to everyone else, because right now we're actually in last place after that pit stop. Last place in clean air, almost losing the back end there, but thankfully we save it. Honestly man, saving slides on the controller is really hard. So every time I save it, I'm just gonna like show off, because it doesn't happen a lot. But now into the castle section this time, we're now chasing behind Esteban Ocon, but that's not what we want, because these guys are the back markers of the race. So having to overtake them does not help us get ahead in the race. It just means that we're losing lots of time by chasing behind them. But now we finally get DRS, and we go ahead and get a bit of extra top speed due to that, but he also has the DRS. We set a purple sector because of that extra speed, but fortunately we are too far behind to make any overtakes. Now into turn 2, almost bumping into Esteban Ocon there. That would have been a very unfortunate incident. Don't know why I'm pausing there, but yeah, I guess it's for just wake up, because we're 20 minutes in now, and now Ocon defending, and we're going to try that around the inside, getting ahead at the apex, and we move up into P21. Not what we want to see, but getting ahead is just what we need to do right now. Ozzy almost lose the back end another time. And now into the middle sector, which is where we're going to be chasing Mazepin. Hopefully it does not slow us down too much. So we're going to go ahead and, we're going to try that around the inside of this corner. Another typical overtaking spot, but we make it work, and we're up ahead, zero hassle, as we now head through the castle section. 2 overtakes in 1 lap. You love to see it. So now we skip over to the later parts of the lap. You can see us getting really close to Latifi, but not close enough to make any moves. But we're just going to be chasing me behind. We get this nice helicopter camera, which just shows us all driving through this track. You can see the gap between I and Latifi really nicely, or Latifi and I, as we head through this nice long straight. You can see me starting to gain. We now get the DRS. Don't know why I have Nicholas Latifi's point of view there, but okay. But now we skip ahead to the later lap, and now we have George Russell, who's now chasing, because we got past Latifi. I don't know what happened to the footage there, but now we're chasing past Latifi. We're now chasing George Russell, using the overtake to just give us a bit more speed. But now we get the DRS. He also gets the DRS, so we're pretty much even right now, and we can't really be making any moves right now. Not at all. But we do set a new fastest lap thanks to that DRS plus slipstream.
You're increasing the gap to the car behind by a few seconds per lap. Keep this up.
But now it's part 2. You can see us, they're getting really close. Overtake, DRS, they're very easy, but we're gonna run out of battery, so I decided to turn it off, and now we're pretty much just side by side, heading into the next braking zone and completing the overtake. Very easy, zero hassle. Ooh, as we tried around the inside, that was an unexpected overtake there onto Noda as we sent it down the inside, and now up into P17. So we're still net up compared to where we started the race in last place. So that's good to see. So now it's time for the second round of pit stops. They're trying to get a bit of slipstream off of Lance Stroll as he goes to pit, but we stay out. But now you can see us catching up to the that was almost a crash there. Thankfully we save it. But now chasing down Carlos Sainz, heading into the castle section. This is the guy who crashed out of qualifying, but honestly, if we didn't make any mistakes, we would have been ahead of him by now. But unfortunately, this guy crashed out of qualifying, but still somehow is ahead of us in the race. But now we're gonna get the DRS, but it's not close enough to overtake. But now the second time, almost losing the car again. I think the grip is just disappearing right now. That time trial setup is just destroying the rear tires. So worn tires and the very slight time trial setup just makes for a really bad combination. And then the fact that I'm on the controller just means that the slides are very difficult to save. So check out the tyre wear there. Still a huge 10% difference between the front and the back. But now later on the race, you can see us finally catching up to the back of Carlos Sainz. Now we use the battery, but we decide, you know what, let's not force this overtake. We're just going to take it really easy. But let's see what's going to happen. Nope, nothing at all. Just almost running into the back of Carlos Sainz, but no moves just yet. And once again, it's Antonio Giovinazzi who's holding us behind. Again, he did this early in the race, and now he does it again. He's definitely becoming a truly train right now. For those who've been watching F1 for a while, the truly train. You'll kind of remember that, so yeah. So now we're just heading through the middle sector. There really isn't nothing much to say here, but I'm gonna be honest, this race was honestly a bit more entertaining than I would have expected, because usually what happens with 100% races is that you spend like 90% of the time in the middle of nowhere with no one to fight. You're just literally just looking at the gaps and watching to see if you're like catching up or falling behind the others. But thankfully this race with the equal cars and the fact that we started in last place actually made for some really nice racing. And I think overall though, just Baku makes for some slightly better racing compared to tracks like Australia and stuff. But now you can see the speed that we're carrying around here. And I think I saw a yellow flag there. I wonder what's going on. As we head through the straight, and oh, look at that. Some cars slowing down. I see some smoke there. I wonder what's going on. But that means I think those other guys were trying to pit. But now a pit window opens and now it's time for us to start our in lap. And oh, it's a safety car. And look at how many cars are pitting. That is disaster. We've literally just missed out on what would have been a literally free pit stop. And this is going to be absolute jeopardy for our race, as we now have to like navigate this whole lap on these old tires when we should have been on the fresh rubber. So everyone else gets a free stop, but now I'm going to be falling behind by the time everyone else catches up to the safety car. That's not what you want to see. So eventually we hop into the pit stop. Let's hope this one's faster than the previous one. But you can see us there tumbling down the order. That is not what you want to see, not during the race. We literally could have been in contention for a podium there. And then they changed the front wing again. I don't know what these guys are thinking. The car was totally fine. We literally already swapped it out on the first pit stop, so why did we do it again? And then we see Carlos Sainz going past, and once again, Antonio Giovinazzi there is now ahead of us again, after we passed him like twice during the race. Not what you want to see. So the action's been paused now, and we're pretty much just waiting for the restart to happen. Everyone's bunched up again, just like at the start of the race. But this should still give us an opportunity. You can see, I just zoom in there. You can see what I'm doing. I'm accelerating while pressing the brakes. Why do I do that? I'm doing that to kind of burn the fuel so that the car weighs a bit less, and hopefully we can recover some pace. Because you can see right now the fuel is at plus 1.77 laps. And that's too much fuel, and having this extra fuel weighing us down is just going to slow us down in terms of lap time, and that's not what you want if you want to win a race. But now
Let's make sure those tires are up to temperature. Remember, there is no overtaking until the timing line. Stay in position until the green flags.
you can see the tires are only at 80 degrees Celsius. That is way too cool. We need to get those temperatures up to about 90. So you can see us there aggressively swerving to warm up the tires. You can see all the cars we're going to have to pass again if you want to get into the points. We're back down in P17. The pit stops are done for the entire race, so we'll have to make up a whole 7 positions just on pure speed alone. No tire difference, just pure speed alone. But now green flags out, we start the race. We're going to try to run the inside. Thankfully this time was a very painless process, getting in front of the Alfa Romeo and the Ferrari, just like that, up into P15. And now we send it down the inside of Pierre Gasly one more time, getting some revenge for what happened earlier in the race. And now up into P14. I guess that wasn't so bad. So now we're up into the race. Now up into P14, getting closer and closer into the points, which is exactly what we want to see. With the car still in a big train right now, we're going to send it down the inside of Lance Stroll there, bumping the curb there and going side by side, still going side by side. Lance Stroll putting up a fight right now. Gonna try it around the outside, which will then turn into the inside, and we get ahead, which is exactly what we want to see. But you can now see the gap that is starting to form between us and that McLaren up ahead, which is not what you want to see. But I think after a safety car, the DRS does not turn on immediately. It kind of waits for a couple of laps. So, as we almost lose the car there. So thankfully, we should have a bit of a time to catch up to Ricciardo before the DRS gets enabled. But now into the next lap, sending a very optimistic send on Daniel Ricciardo, same way he did it back in 2019. But unlike him, we were actually successful with this one, and that's mostly because he actually saw us there and decided to give us some space. So thank you, Daniel. But now we're going to catch up to Schumacher as Leclerc and Vettel are fighting each other up ahead, which is slowing everyone down and giving us a chance to catch up and send it down the inside of Mick Schumacher, just like that. Now we're in the points, just like that. Literally 2 laps and we're back in business. Now we head into the castle section for the 36th time of the race. So we're getting closer and closer to the end. Getting this nice camera, you can see the gap between me and Schumacher, and then ahead there's just like a huge gap between us and the McLaren up ahead. But eventually now we have Perez, who we're catching up to now. We're in DRS rage, so this should be a very fun time. But now Schumacher is also behind, looking to make a move on us and get himself into the points for the first time in 2022. He's going to send it around the outside as one of the cars pits there. Interesting. But now Mick Schumacher's ahead of us, long into the braking zone. Can we still get back our position? Sending it down the inside, side by side into turn 1. We get it done, and Mick Schumacher's now far behind and shouldn't be a threat for the rest of the lap. So now we're kind of in like a bit of a no man's land, but Schumacher has caught up to us again. We actually even set the repair damage to no because it's been causing us so much trouble over this entire race with those unnecessary front wing changes.
Perez is ahead of you. Gap to car in front is 2.0 seconds. They're on fresh mediums. Their tyres are 5 laps old. The time last lap was a 1 minute 46.3. We're gaining by around 0.2 per lap. That last lap was a 1:46.0.
So they were just kind of trying to find out, Mick Schumacher goes down the inside. We're going to fight side by side. Now heading into turn 2, are we still side by side? We stay ahead, but now Mick Schumacher is going to get the DRS one more time. And is he going to, he's far ahead. He's far behind. So yeah, as I was saying before, I wanted to find out my lap time and then compare it to Perez to see if we're going to catch up. But yeah, finally Giovinazzi retires after causing us so much trouble in the race. But now you can see what looks to be a McLaren starting to catch up to us again. Is that Ricciardo coming back for some revenge? Thankfully we're P9 right now, so even if he gets past, we are going to be in a position to receive some points. Not a lot of points, but points nonetheless. Now Daniel Ricciardo was a massive speed, sending it down the inside of turn 1. But he doesn't get to keep the position and now goes back behind into 10th place. But now he's going to get the DRS, which is going to increase his straight line speed and give him that bit of speed he needs to get past us on the overtake. But you can see in the mirror there, he's just really far behind, which is not what you want to see if you want to get past. But now skipping on later into the lap. He's still chilling there in our DRS zone, but he's just really far behind. It's lap 43 out of 51. There's still time and it's not over yet, so it's going to be a long time defending from this guy. So you can see us, they're holding a very defensive line. Look at how much speed he just gained on us there to finally catch up. But thankfully our defense pays off, but we went a bit wide there. Now Ricciardo's going to be going side by side with us into turn 2, and he's still going to get the DRS. He's now ahead at the apex, but we thankfully managed to stay ahead. But now he's going to get the DRS. We move over to the inside to defend against his potential attack right now. As he moves over to the outside now, trying again into this corner, we stay ahead. One more time. Let's go.
The car behind is dropping back by about 0.3
Now later on in the race, you can see I'm just holding a really defensive line, even if he's far behind, because at any point right now he could just like try and overtake on us. Now it's lap 46. We're almost at the end, guys. We're surviving on a controller. Almost 90 minutes into a race. But now he's gonna get that DRS again, holding the defensive line one more time. He's gonna try to run the outside ahead at the braking zone, hitting the brakes down the inside, and I still managed to stay ahead just like that. And he's gonna have to wait another day before he can send it around the inside again. But you can see as we progress further and further into the race, he just keeps closing that gap through this middle sector. He's now only within half a second of us. As we head to this SS section, now from his point of view, you can see him there, a massive speed boost. Now he's going to get the inside line for the first time in the race, DRS. This should be an easy one for him for sure. Just look at how much distance he's pulled. I have no chance of defending right now. But you know what, but you know what happens now? We finally get DRS and we can pull ahead from him. Just look at that, it's getting really close. We're ready to send our own version of attack. After defending for so long, it's now time for us to attack, trying it around the outside. Now Ricardo's the one having to defend, where you get a really easy move. We're now far ahead, long before the braking zone. As we head into the closing minutes of this race, we are still being chased down by Daniel Ricciardo. Sergio Perez is long gone, and that P8 is not going to be realistically achievable at this point. We've only had 2 retirements in the race so far, so I doubt there's going to be any more this late into the race. So now, here we go. One more time with Daniel Ricciardo. Lap 48 out of 51. You can see him there pulling in and to the try him on the outside. Now heading into turn 1. Let's see who's going to be ahead at this point. Oh, we still managed to stay ahead. An absolute defense masterclass right now. As you can see, we skipped to the later part of the lap. He couldn't make any more overtakes to the rest of that section. There now seems to be a yellow flag. Someone's out of the race, right? What's going on? That is Valtteri Bottas, who has retired from the race.
Green flag.
So that's 2 engine failures, I think, in the middle of the race. So now that gives us P8, but now Daniel Ricciardo, he's going to send it down the inside. He looked a bit hesitant there, but the hesitation really cost him, and we managed to stay ahead. So now the game plan right now is to do our best to conserve as much battery as possible, so that when it comes to that final lap, on the final straight, we can manage to stay ahead, because he's always going to have the DRS by the looks of it. As we head to the castle section for the penultimate time, you can see the car sliding around. These tires are absolutely shot, and we won't be getting any more grip out of them for the rest of this race. So it's not only a battle against Ricciardo, it's also a battle against these heavily worn medium tires. But you can see our batteries there chilling at about 50%. Looks like we might have enough to hopefully defend for the rest of the race. As Ricciardo is now starting to fall behind again, now almost a second down. This is exactly what we want, but not what he wants. But once again, that DRS is just cutting through that gap, going from 9 tenths down to 6 tenths down. That's what's going to be his point of view, as he's now just locked onto us. We are the target. This bright blue car is the target he needs to get past right now. So he gets the DRS again, now from 6 tenths down. Let's see how much time he gains on this straight for the final time of the race. You can see him there gradually closing in, but not close enough to make an overtake. After all, he might just be doing a really smart strategy of just hanging behind until we finally arrive at the final straight and he gets the DRS and just casually zooms past. We will see what happens right now. One thing for sure is that this race has not been an easy one for either of us, both trying to fight for positions for these last like almost 10 laps of the race. Now heading through the crossing section for the last time. You can see the sun shining through the race as we go through this crossing section. Is that a bit of tire smoke there? Oh, that's not what you want to see. That's the sign of someone who's losing control and is going to be losing lots of lap time. And that's only going to help Ricardo at the end of the race. As you can see him there chasing behind us as, oh, what's going on? They just slow down there. What is going on? We just swap positions there by the looks of it. Look at that, just slow down and do the all swap. Looks like I think I might be able to make an overtake using the DRS and getting ahead of him this time. So now we're chasing him behind. But now, almost half a second down. That might not be what we want to see, but hopefully we can see if we can make up that gap again as we head through this high-speed SS section for the final time. You can see the light flashing at the back of Ricardo's car. That is a sign of a battery that is completely depleted. So now we get DRS, we use overtake, sending it around the outside, lightly bumping the wall there, and we send it and we win. Or we win this battle, just like that. Absolutely amazing. So here are the results. Thank you for watching. If you watched this far, honestly, respect. So I'll see you in the next video.